Hello students, welcome back to this amazing lecture where you are going to secure your 4 marks in auditing. Before we start, subscribe the channel, hit the like button if you want to secure your 4 marks in audit exams. In this lecture, we are going to cover up all the question answers of chapter number 2 in minimum time. These questions are a compilation from module for September 24 exams covering all your test your knowledge, test your understanding questions and etc. So basically all the questions are covered. So let's begin. Let's get started. So first of all, this chapter is all about audit strategy, planning and program, right? So we are going to first understand the illustration number 1 that is given in your module. See, the auditor T of Hand Fab Limited is worried as to the management of key resources to be employed to conduct audit. Yes, it is worried. Who is worried? Auditor is worried about what? Management of key resources to be employed to conduct the audit means who all people, who all employees or who all resources are to be included in the audit work, right? So required is what? How the audit strategy would be helpful to the auditor. Yes. So for this you have to refer establishing the overall audit strategy. Now let's go in the module page where they have given the establishing the overall audit strategy. So as you can see, I have came in the module page number 2.10. You can open up your module page number 2.99 or just refer to the screen. Okay. So establishing the overall audit strategy, assistance for the auditor. Overall audit strategy sets the scope, timing and direction of the audit and guides the development of the more detailed audit plan. So planning and making the audit strategy helps the auditor to determine the scope, timing and direction of the audit, right? It gives the development of more detailed audit plan, right? The auditor shall establish an overall audit strategy. This line is same. Next is the process of establishing the overall audit strategy assists the auditor to determine, subject to the completion of the auditor's risk assessment procedure. See, this risk assessment procedure is the procedure which is carried out before starting the audit. So you see, after the completion of this procedure of risk assessment, the overall audit strategy is something that auditor should make. Okay, it should include who all people are to be included while conducting the audit, who will be the people who will be with him doing the audit, right? For example, like auditors include articles in their work, right? They include employees of their firm in conducting the audit. So these are nothing but called as resources. Okay, resources to do the audit. So see, first is given as the resources to deploy. Resources here means the people who are going to be included by the auditor to conduct the audit. Okay, so the resources to deploy for specific audit areas such as the use of appropriately experienced team members for high risk areas or the involvement of experts on complex matters. Now if the entity the financial statement has some high risk areas or some complex matters, so in that area highly experienced team members will be included by the auditor, experts will be included by the auditor. Articles may or may not be able to do carry out the work which an experienced person may has. So this is the reason that auditor must divide the work or maybe give the work according to the high risk area and the complex matters. So this is the first point. Second is the amount of resources to allocate to specific audit areas means what? Number of team members assigned to observe the inventory count at material locations. So how much is the size of the company, the inventory, accordingly number of team members will be assigned to that location, right? The extent of review of other auditors' work in the case of group audits or the audit budget in hours to allocate to high risk areas, right? When these resources are to be deployed means what? Make executed. Yes, deployment means what? To execute. So when these resources are to be executed or deployed, such as whether at an interim audit stage or at key cutoff dates, so auditor is supposed to decide that when such resources are to be executed. At the interim means in the middle somewhere of the auditing stage, or key cutoff dates. Cutoff date means what? End of the financial year. For example, March month, right? 31st March. So when to deploy such resources, when to use the expert members, when to use normal articles to the conducting the audit, etc. Just an example. Then fourth point is how such resources are managed, directed, supervised, such as when team briefing and debriefing meetings are expected to be held, how engagement partner and manager reviews are expected to take place, for example on site or off site, and whether to complete engagement quality control reviews. So these are the 4 points. Maybe you just learn the keywords out of this and you will be able to solve this question as well. Okay, so let's move on to here our illustration 1 finishes up. So let us move on to illustration number 2. Alright, so the next question is not the illustration, it is test your understanding. So what the question tells? Let's see. MG and Company, a firm of auditors, okay, having a standing of 30 years, is appointed as statutory auditor of a company which is engaged in the manufacturing of defense equipment. Due to opening of defense sector by government to private players in recent times, many new companies have entered the fray to manufacture sophisticated defense equipment. So considering technical and complex nature of operations, the auditors recognize that involvement of experts in the audit is required. Does consideration for involvement of experts by auditor fall in the domain of planning audit? So we have to talk about whether involvement of experts in the auditing work is does it fall in the domain of audit planning? Means, is it a part of audit planning? So we have to tell this. Answer is consideration for involvement of experts by auditors falls within domain of planning. Now why this question is arising? Because they can also confuse you with the MCQs saying that whether it is audit strategy, audit planning or audit program. So you have to see that involvement of expert comes and falls within the domain of planning. Okay, while planning an audit, auditor would have to consider whether involvement of expert is necessary. In this stated case, company is involved in technical and complex operations. Okay, therefore while planning an audit, auditors would have to consider whether involvement of expert is necessary. So whenever there is thing of technicality or complex operations, you always have to consider the expert, right? If it is entirely about law, for example about sections and about everything else, about the legal requirements, so in such case, for example, you may hire the services of expert of lawyer, right? Expert in the form of lawyer. Lawyer is nothing but an expert only for our auditing purposes. So for this reason, wherever there is any technical requirement of complex operations, as it was in this particular question, remember that expert are required and that it falls within the planning phase of the auditing. Alright, so this was the answer. Next is test your understanding number 2. CA Karthik is planning an audit of a company which is again engaged in manufacturing. So considering nature of operations, he had planned to include what? Testing of controls of the company over purchase, sales and inventories. One fine day, he reaches the corporate office and asks for manuals and required documentation to ensure surprise element in testing. So what is this particular person is doing? What is he doing? He is conducting a surprise element for the he's doing surprise testing. Yes, so he had never shared with management his intention to carry out above procedures. Is approach of CA Karthik proper? What is this question talking about? This question is talking about that whether a CA can conduct a surprise test without asking the management, or without telling the management, not asking, basically without intimating the management that we are going to conduct a surprise test. Can the CA conduct a surprise testing? So this is the question. Answer is, in the case CA Karthik has reached office, he has directly reached the office of the company without sharing this with the management about his intention to test the controls. So the auditor may decide to discuss elements of planning with the entity's management. Means what? Key auditor the auditor can discuss about his audit planning with the management. Okay, to facilitate the conduct and management of the audit engagement. Audit engagement means audit agreement, right, without compromising effectiveness of audit. But the auditing ka effectiveness should not be compromised while you discuss the audit plan with the management. Okay, sharing details of visit to test controls does not compromise the effectiveness of audit. So it is for the better facilitation and conduct of audit. So the approach of CA Karthik is not proper. Okay, so just it is not compromising the audit. It is not compromising the effectiveness of the audit. When you visit the company for testing controls, it does not compromise the effectiveness of audit, and it is done only for the betterment, only for the better facilitation and conduct of the audit. So therefore the approach of CA Karthik is not proper. Moving on, illustration number 2. Now there is a auditor of a company which is asks its finance and audit head to prepare audit strategy for conducting the audit. Okay, so W means the auditor also insists him to draw detailed audit procedures. On the request of the auditor, he completes audit strategy as well as audit procedures as prepared by finance head. Subsequently, auditor realizes that effectiveness of the audit is compromised. Effectiveness of the audit is compromised, and it was his responsibility to prepare the overall audit strategy. So you have to comment on this. So module ICAI has told you to refer overall audit strategy and the audit plan, and this much only one liner is given in your module as well. But don't worry, I am going to take you to the module, and I will be explaining this answer as well. Okay. Alright, so as you can see, it is just a 4-liner answer. So let's see. So the overall audit strategy and the audit plan remain the auditor's responsibility. This can come for your MCQ, guys. The overall audit strategy and the audit plan remains the responsibility of auditor. It is the auditor who is responsible for establishing the overall audit strategy and developing the audit plan. However, as discussed earlier, auditor may discuss the elements of the audit plan and everything with the entity's management without compromising the effectiveness of the audit. Okay, now let's go again to our answer part. So you can see that accordingly, approach of the auditor was wrong, and he should have prepared overall audit strategy and the detailed audit procedures. Okay, he should not compromise the effectiveness of the audit at all. Okay. Next question is about the test your understanding question. Now, CA Mary, while planning audit of a company, feels that she would inquire from in-house legal counsel of the company status of pending litigation. In-house legal counsel means what? Maybe the lawyer or advocate, okay, of the company. Litigation matters against the company to identify and assess risk of material misstatements. Considering above description, are you able to identify the said procedure? What kind of audit procedure is this? Where these identified procedures are included in planning in accordance with SA 300. Okay, so see the answer. These are planned risk assessment procedures to identify and assess risk of material misstatement. So you have to mention what it is these are planned risk assessment procedures. So this is a part of risk assessment procedure. The objective of planned inquiry of in-house legal counsel is to identify and assess what? Risk of material misstatements. Such planned risk assessment procedures are included in audit plan in accordance with SA 300. Okay, it is included in what? Audit plan. Alright, so I hope you have got this answer. Next is test your understanding number 4. Let us quickly move on to our next question. Test your understanding number 4. So CA Subhendu is statutory auditor of a social media company. Due to change in information technology regulations by government, it has become mandatory for such companies to constitute grievance redressal mechanism. Grievance means what? Complaint, right? Complaint ko solve karna. Grievance redressal for users of social media platform of the company. Failure to comply with regulations can potentially lead to civil and criminal liabilities. against the company. So is above factor to be considered by auditor while framing audit strategy? Means what? This grievance redressal mechanism is something that auditor must consider in its auditing strategy or not, so that you have to answer. Changes in laws and regulations affecting the company is a factor to be considered while establishing the overall audit strategy. So this first line itself tells us that yes, the auditor will include the factor of law and regulation that is affecting the company while he is establishing its overall audit strategy. Okay, so there has been change in information technology regulation applicable to the company in this particular question. Non-compliance of the same can have implications, so they have just repeated the question here. Okay, nothing else. So such an important matter, so this is an important matter. Why? Because they have completely, like, they have made changes to the information technology regulations itself, so that is why this becomes important matter, so as to the audit of the company. So such an important matter concerning changes in law and regulations is to be considered by the auditor while establishing the overall audit strategy. Okay, this much is only the answer, so you don't have to worry while studying audit, right? Test your understanding number 5. Rohit undergoing practical training is part of an engagement team conducting audit of a company engaged in manufacturing of paints. He has been provided with audit program. So what is audit program? Actually, audit program is something that has all the instructions written, that how the audit is going to proceed, how the people conducting the audit are going to conduct the audit, what all procedures are to be followed. So everything is given in the audit program. Who is doing the audit, who all are allocated certain work of the audit, everything is given in audit program. So this Rohit, who is undergoing practical training, he has been provided with the audit program pertaining to the sales. Okay, it lists out various items to be checked, verified, including invoices and everything else. So during such verification, he notices that many e-way bills have been cancelled by the company within 24 hours of their generation. There is no specific instruction in audit program in this regard. So audit program is not having this factor of the e-way bill being cancelled. So he keeps mum means he do not speak up about this, that why it is not included in the audit program. So is this attitude of Rohit proper? We have to tell this. Okay, so see, attitude of Rohit is not proper. The assistants, so he's an assistant, right? The assistants should observe matters objectively and bring significant matters to the notice of the supervisor and the principal. For example, article and the principal, article is conducting the audit on behalf of the audit, on behalf nahi bol sakte, as told by the auditor. So in this case, assistant is the article trainee and the principal is the main auditor who is conducting the audit. So the assistant, if assistant observe any such significant matter, he should bring up to the notice of the principal, right? Reasons for cancellation of many e-way bills in month of March need to be looked into. Matter should be informed to the engagement partner. So this is very crucial for anybody who is conducting the audit or who is a partner in the audit, or who is even though you are an article assistant or you are just an assistant to the principal, you should, if you see any such things, you should bring it to the notice to the principal. Yes. Now next, case study you are going to do by your own. Okay, test your knowledge MCQs by your own. I am going to take up correct, incorrect and test your knowledge ka descriptive questions. Okay, because MCQs are easy and you can solve it. Otherwise you can go you can also refer my Telegram channel for few MCQs that I upload there. You can solve there also. Okay, these are only the MCQs that I take up there. So if you watch the lecture, you will be able to solve those MCQs as well. So if you have came till here, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Okay, now let's move on to the correct and incorrect section. State with reason. So you, every time you answer the question correct, incorrect, you have to give the reason for it. Even if it is correct, you have to at least give some provision related to that particular question. Okay, So first one here is the establishment of the overall audit strategy and the detailed audit plan are not necessarily discrete. Discrete means separate or sequential processes, but are closely interrelated, since changes in one may result in consequential changes to the other. Yes, this is absolutely right. Once the overall audit strategy has been established, now look at the way the institute has answered this. Okay, if the question is correct, if the answer is correct, what we have to write? Okay, overall the once the overall audit strategy has been established, an audit plan can be developed to achieve the audit objectives through the efficient use of auditors resources. The establishment of the overall audit strategy and the detailed audit plan are not necessarily discrete. So these are not necessarily separate or in a sequence 1, 2, 3, no, but are closely interrelated, since changes in one may result in the consequential changes to the other. Okay, change in one may result in change to another. So you can put up the answer like that. Next is establishing an overall audit strategy that sets the scope, timing. Oh, we already read this particular line in our descriptive answer, right? So let's see whether this is correct or incorrect. Establishing an overall audit strategy that sets the scope, timing, and direction of the audit, and that guides the development of the audit plan is prerogative of the management. So this is not correct. The auditor shall establish an overall audit strategy. Why the management will make the overall strategy? Agar if management is only making the audit strategy, can't he manipulate it? Yes, of course. So this is the duty of the auditor, right? So the auditor shall establish, not the management. Okay, audit strategy. All right, next one is planning is a discrete phase of an audit. Right now in the first correct incorrect we studied that it is not discrete. It is not discrete, so it is incorrect. Planning is not a discrete phase, but rather a continual and iterative process that often begins shortly after the completion of the previous audit and continues until the completion of the current audit engagement. Okay, planning, however, includes consideration of the timing of certain activities and audit procedures that need to be completed prior to the performance of further audit procedures. So you got to learn this answer. Okay, if you don't understand, you can just learn them, but it is nothing to learn. You just have to say that it is not a discrete procedure, it's a continuous procedure. Okay, next is a detailed audit program once prepared for a business can be used for all business. How is this possible? How is this possible? Tell me, how can one set of instruction, one audit procedures, one set of audit procedures can be used for any other entity? It is not possible. Every entity is different from one, right? If all the entities are different from each other, so different audit program, maybe some similarities may be there, but you cannot exactly rely on the same audit program for the other company as well. So it is incorrect totally. Businesses vary, right? Businesses are different in nature, size, composition. Work which is suitable to one business may not be suitable to others. Efficiency of and operation of internal controls and the exact nature of the service to be rendered by the auditor are the other factors that vary, right? So basically, on account of such differences or such variations, evolving one audit program applicable to all businesses is not practicable at all. So next, last correct incorrect for this particular chapter, and then we will move on to the theoretical questions. So this is the audit plan is more detailed than the overall audit strategy. So yes, it is correct. The audit plan is more detailed than the overall audit strategy. This can come for your MCQs, okay? That includes the nature, timing, extent. So audit plan includes nature, timing, extent of audit procedures. Planning for these audit procedure takes place over the course of the audit as the audit plan for the engagement develops. Okay, which means that planning is not just an initial phase ka element, but it is also planning is also done during the auditing. Okay, this is another point. So I hope you have understood the correct and incorrect questions. Now we move on to the theoretical questions. Alright, so let us move on to the theoretical questions. Discuss how performing preliminary engagement activities. Preliminary means what? means what? Preliminary means what? Starting, initial engagement activities. Okay, as part of planning an audit, assist auditor. I'm repeating the question. Discuss how performing preliminary engagement activities as part of planning can assist the auditor. So performing preliminary engagement activities assist the auditor in identifying and evaluating events or circumstances that may affect auditor's ability to plan and perform audit engagement. So basically, it affects in the it identifies and evaluates what events or circumstances that may affect auditors' ability to plan and perform the audit engagement. Okay, that's it. Second question, discuss how an engagement partner ensures that firm complies with relevant ethical requirements, including independence in relation to client. So how an engagement partner ensures this, we have to say. So आपके in your ICAI module they have given that refer this point. Which point? Evaluating compliance with ethical requirements. So I am going to take you to the module now. Okay, so see, I have came to page number 2.8 of the module. So you can refer that, or you can refer the screen also for now. So see, B part is talking about evaluating compliance with ethical requirements, including independence. You have to come here. The engagement partner shall form a conclusion on compliance with independence requirements that apply to the audit engagement. In doing so, the engagement partner shall do the following. He shall obtain relevant information from the firm whose auditing he is doing to identify and evaluate such events or circumstances and relationship that create threats to independence. So he has to see the collect the information which will cause the threat to its independence. So you have to collect such information. Secondly, evaluate such information on identified breaches, if any, of the firm's independence policies and procedures to determine whether they create a threat to independence for the audit engagement. First, threat to his own independence. Second point talks about threat to independence of the audit engagement, audit agreement. Third is take appropriate action लो उसके ऊपर to eliminate such kind of threats, okay, or reduce them to an acceptably low level by applying some safeguards or something like that, or if considered appropriate, to withdraw from the audit engagement. If at all it is not possible to reduce such threat or whatever for any reason, he can even think of the option of withdrawing from the audit engagement, where the withdrawal is permitted by the law or regulation. The engagement partner shall promptly report to the firm any inability to resolve the matter for appropriate action, right? Besides consideration for client continuance and compliance with ethical requirements, preliminary engagements activities also include establishing an understanding of terms of engagement, whatever the agreement is there between the auditor and the client. So those terms the auditor must understand, the engagement partner must understand. Okay, so this is the particular answer for the question number 2 of the theoretical questions. Now let's move on further. So the third question is, purported disadvantages of an audit program can be overcome. Do you agree? So purported disadvantages of audit program may be eliminated by imaginative supervision of the work carried on by the assistants. The auditor must have a receptive attitude as regards the assistants. Means receptive means what? He must respond to whatever the assistants have come up with. Okay, the assistants should be encouraged to observe matters objectively and bring significant matters to the notice of the supervisor or the principal. So the auditor has to be receptive of whatever the assistant has observed and come up with. He must take action on it. Okay, so this is the answer. Next is, now only last two questions are remaining, no need to worry. All right, an auditor of a company fails to document audit strategy and audit plan. Briefly outline the consequences, means effects of such failure. Means here we have to talk about the documentation, right? Why the audit strategy and audit plan documentation is necessary, and if the auditor doesn't follow documenting or documentation, what will be the effects of such thing. We have to see this. Now in your module they have only told that refer to the documentation point, but I'm going to take you to the module. Okay, So for your ease, the documentation part is on page number 2.17 of your module. For now, you can refer to the screen. So see, documentation, the auditor shall document the overall audit strategy, audit plan, and any significant changes made to the audit engagement. Documentation of overall audit strategy is a record, right, of the key decisions that are considered by the auditor and to communicate such matters. So documentation of audit plan is a record of the planned nature, timing, extent of risk assessment procedures for the audit procedures and everything. So it serves as a record, right, of proper planning, that the auditor has planned, that the auditor has made the auditing strategy, right. So the auditor may use standard audit programs or whatever, the template or whatever, checklist and everything. A record of the significant changes to the overall audit strategy and the auditing plan and resulting changes to the plan nature, timing, extent, explains why the significant changes were made and everything else. It also reflects the appropriate response to the significant changes occurring during the audit. So this much is something that you have to write in your answer. Okay, only this much, nothing else. Now let's move on to our very last so the last question here is, essay 300 states that auditor shall plan the NTE, that is nature, timing, extent of direction and supervision of engagement team members and the review of their work. Discuss few factors affecting such supervision and review of work of the engagement team members. So refer to the point on planning, supervision and review. Let me take you to the module. Alright, so for this answer, come to the page number 2.16 of your module or refer to the screen. So planning, supervision and review of work of engagement team members. Auditor shall plan the nature, timing, extent, direction and supervision of the engagement team members and review their work. Engagement team members mean whosoever is conducting the audit. So the auditor shall plan their nature, timing and extent and direction, in which direction the engagement team members are going to work. Okay, so nature, timing and extent of the direction of, and supervision of engagement team members includes the following. So there are 4 things that you have to learn. I'm telling you, you have to learn. There is one thing called as understanding and one thing called as ratification. So for this you have to first understand. If you can remember, well and good. If not, directly ratify. Okay, see, the size and complexity of the entity, the area of the audit, means as it is words you have to write. You cannot replace any of these words because these are minimum words that you are expected to write, and this may come in your examination because it is 4 pointer answers. So this is expected to be coming in your exam, so you have to make sure that you are writing each word there as it is. Okay, the area of the audit, the assessed risk of material misstatement and the capabilities and competence of the individual team members performing the audit work. Here we finish up with all the question and answers of chapter number 2. We'll be back with Q&A chapter number 3. If you have not subscribed to the channel, do subscribe and like the video lecture. Meet you in my next lecture. So till then, bye bye, take care.